Good evening. It's Monday, April 24th, 2023. We have a few events and a few birthdays, so we'll jump headfirst into the events real quick. Looked up and down the list, and there wasn't a lot of super significant events, especially in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. Just a few winners that you would expect at a few different tracks. Nothing really to report there. The first major event, you could call it, is in 1999 at Talladega in the Busch Series race. Terry Labonte beat Joe Nemechek by 0.02 of a second, so that's the same margin of victory that Craven had over Busch and Johnson had over Bowyer at Darlington and Talladega, respectively. So you can imagine how close of a finish that was back in '99. 2004, Martin Truex Jr. wins his first of a career record 3 Talladega Xfinity Series races. He was always good at that track, especially when he was in those Chance 2 cars. 2021, Jeb Burton wins his first career Xfinity Series race. Of course, he won the other day for his second win. And then last year on this date, Ross Chastain won his second career race at Talladega after a kind of an interesting last lap pass when Eric Jones and Kurt Busch kind of went wide in the tri-oval, and Chastain just drove right by him, and he was as surprised as everyone else. So we have a few birthdays here to go through. Born on this date in 1937, Johnny Benson Sr. Of course, he's father of the former Xfinity and Truck Series champion Johnny Benson. He made one Cup start way back in the mid-'70s, but he was pretty much a short track legend in and around his home state of Michigan. Also, another Midwesterner born on this date in 1943, Ron Hutcherson. He ran a lot of IMCA and USAC stock cars. Ran a few Cup Series races back in the mid-'70s to moderate success, but that career didn't pan out. So anyway, let's get to our birthdays. Born on this date in 1947. Brother of a former Indy 500 winner, Mr. Roger Mears. I believe Roger is Casey Mears' dad, if I remember correctly. Roger wasn't talked about a lot in the NASCAR circles. He did run a few Truck Series races early on. He was an off-roading truck guy. So he had some connections there in that field. He made a few Indy 500 starts with very, very limited success, but he was always a threat in the off-road truck world. Born on this date in 1977, I've only got one card, and it's one of these weird die-cut ones. Current Cup crew chief, I believe he's crew chief for Joey Logano right now, but he won the championship with Brad Kay. Mr. Paul Wolfe, when he was a driver. Yeah, so you can see he was part of that Evernham connection. So very interesting. Many don't remember Paul Wolfe being a driver back in the early 2000s. And our final driver had a lot of promise in the early to mid-'90s, and just his career didn't go the way that everybody thought it was going to. Born on this date in 1969, former Busch Series Rookie of the Year, won 2 races, won 93 and 1 in 94, Mr. Elliott Sadler. Of course, Elliott had a very unique sponsorship situation his first couple of years. Of course, he drove for Don Beverly's team, as these are all sticking together. He had the Virginia Department of Tourism as a sponsor. There you see Virginia is for lovers. He always seemed to have a Citgo on his patch somewhere on his uniform, so I don't know what connection he had there. If that was something through like the truck stops and everything and all his connections in the automotive world. But pretty cool there. Of course, he ended up picking DeWalt as the sponsorship through a couple of teams that he drove for. He moved on to the number 72 car, the MGM Brakes Detroit Gasket car, owned by Ron Parker. Of course, this was a car that Mike Dillon would eventually drive. Actually, I think Mike had already moved on from this team. Tracy Leslie drove for him for a while, then Mike Dillon drove for him, then Hermie Sadler picked up the ride, and he got fired mid-season. Then they found out, and I remember reading this in NASCAR Scene newspaper, that they went back and they had a few other drivers hop in the car. And they were like, this thing does not drive well. And they found out that whatever they did, they built the front ends wrong with the incorrect geometry. And so they hired Hermie back to the team after that fiasco, but things just didn't work. He drove a Little Tree sponsored car. I can't remember whose team that was. If it, I really don't recall. Let's look on the back and see if it gives us any indication. Number 30 car, I don't remember if that was like an early Turner Motorsports or somebody. It's escaping me right now. I'll have to look it up later. But there's a good look at that Virginia is for Lovers car that he ran, owned by drag racer Don Beverly. Of course, he did, when he got his own team, change number 1, DeVault. And there you see a Peebles logo right there. Peebles is a department store. I've seen them here and there. Don't know if they're still in business. Never went to one. Then he moved over to the 29 team for a bit. Diamond Ridge Racing. So, pretty interesting little car there. He's teammate with his brother Elliot for a hot minute. He had the 29. Elliot was in the 66 car. And, of course, many of you don't know, but Hermie was one of the founding members of Impact Wrestling, TNA. So there you see a nice TNA card from, 2008 or so. There's a little bit about him from the Impact side. Oops. So, can't remember if I pulled this card out of one of the TNA packs or if I picked it up in a dime box or quarter box somewhere. But I was like, I have to have that card. So, at any rate, happy birthday to all those folks today. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Sorry it's coming out a little late. Just been a little rougher with my being on a day shift schedule and getting all the videos in every day because I do want to do this series. I'm really having a lot of fun with it. And y'all seem to be enjoying it too, just picking up some information along the way and making me go through all these boxes and bins and so forth and find all these cards and remember some of these drivers that I forgot raced in certain teams. I totally forgot Hermie was in the 72 car, so I started going through the cards. So anyway, thanks again for watching. Hope you come back tomorrow, have some kind of rip, and I will have a small mail day as well, so look forward to seeing that. So thanks again, and we'll see you later.